You're joining with us for the part 2 of the episode, COVID-19 Work from Home and its Consequences, with Ms. Ruhaya Rasik, Senior Lecturer attached to the Department of Human Resource Management. From your perspective, what are an employer's obligations regarding self-isolating or quarantined employees?
Kavisha, when I try to answer your questions, I need to refer to some of the laws relating to quarantine which are prevalent, right? So if you look at the law that is in force relating to quarantine and management of a pandemic situation, the governing act is in fact an ordinance, right? In Sri Lankan context, the ordinance is called Quarantine and Prevention of Diseases Ordinance number 3 of 1897. So if you look at this ordinance, the piece of regulatory act that governs quarantine initiatives, as you know, it was originated a long while ago, right? So we have been fortunate not to have many pandemics since the enforcement of that ordinance. So it has not been a necessity. And if you look at the provisions of this quarantine ordinance, there is a purpose of that ordinance, which is clearly stated as protection of people from diseases and also to stop the spreading of disease within the country and outside the country. So that has been the sole objective, which is very simple and which is very valid. And if you look at the era and the context of employment, way back at that time, we were under the Britishers. So the employment sector, the formal employment sector, or basically the employment generation was mainly through the British owned organizations, and only a few people, if you look at the population, only a smaller fraction of people were in formal employment, right? So it was not a necessity to look at employment rights, how employment should be regulated, but the purpose at that time was to protect people. So even if you look at the provisions right now when it comes to employment, the main main inclusion concerning employment is appointment of inspectors and officers and their rights to manage a pandemic, right? So therefore, if you look at in many of the countries, they have not talked about how to regulate employees, employment related activities during a quarantine. Not many countries have governed it, right? They do not have any governing law concerning how employees should be managed during a pandemic, right? So therefore, actually how employees are managed are based on the circular is issued by the government from time to time. And as you see, they also can't issue a blanket, regulation. This is how you people should be managed, because intensity of the pandemic changes, right? And the effects would be depending on like how we manage it and how fast it is being spread, right? But then if you also look at certain other countries, like for example Germany, how the quarantine activities are governed by an act called Infections Protection Act. Now in that particular act, it is clearly being mentioned, right? What is it like meant to be quarantine of employees, right? So if an employee is being quarantined, how their payments would be made, right? Whether they should be allowed to work or not work, right? So all those kinds of provisions are included, right? So those acts have been enacted, not very recently, but those provisions are covered. But as you see, things would change in the future. But right now, I think what is more important is to manage the pandemic, right? So if you look at the obligations of the employees, there is no such provisions under the Quarantine Act. This is how employees should be managed. But then, of course, there are guidelines issues, circulars issues. An employer has to abide by all those regulations. right? So you asked me what are the obligations of employees, especially employers, on especially employees under quarantine, right? So you should, make sure that not only the quarantine employees, but your employees are protected, because not every organization has moved into permanent remote working, but then there are some organizations who have opted out to hybrid working modes, right? Where like it's only semi work from home operation that is being carried out. So for these people that you are physically asking their employees to come and work in the office, what are your responsibilities? What are your obligations? You need to make sure that these people would not contract COVID, right? While commuting or while providing their services physically, right? You should really take measures concerning their health and safety. And I also know certain organizations who have, in fact, passed what do you call approved immediate your intermediary budgets, right? In order to make sure that they would buy these protective gear and all those necessary equipments to make these people who are meeting clients, meeting customers physically, right? So that's one of the obligations. You should ensure their safety. And also, you also need to look at people with what do you call movement restrictions, right? Who are people who are in lockdown areas. What are you going to do? Because they are not actually on, they are not staying at home at their own will. Maybe that they cannot come to work, and they are not also on working from home platforms, right? As you know that in our country, employee occupational structures, if you look at the occupations, not everybody can work from home in a computer-based environment. There are other kinds of jobs, right? By default, which are organized to work physically. So you need to look after their health, and when they come to work, if you're asking them to come to work, you need to support them, right? And also especially for the people who are under quarantine, right? According to the act that I referred to, Infections Protection Act of Germany, they also say like if somebody is infected, right? Whether can you employ them? Can you ask them to work, right? So this is, of course, in our part of the world, the people who are contracted with the virus, we are still fortunate. We have a free health service, who take us out and who look us after, trying to cure us on a free basis. But then this luxury is not there in every part of the world. That is one of the reasons why they are including these provisions into their legislations, right? So, for in terms of the contracted employees, yes, you can't make them work. But then, of course, what are the obligations towards the population that you highlighted, quarantine employees, right? You need to see whether they are in first contacts or in second contacts, the level of contacts, right? If you are first contacts, can you allow them to work from home? Should they take a break? Should they spend their entire time making sure that if the virus is within themselves, that they would invest their time on, taking home-based remedies or whatever to kill the virus? Or should they be spending their time working online, right? So you need to take those kinds of decisions. And also about this leave matter, right? You are asking the employees to quarantine. It's there. It was not planned, according to the employees. So are you going to give them duty leave? If you are going to give duty leave, is it for the first contact or for the quarantine employees only? These are the obligations that you need to look at. And also the other thing about the payments. Now, if the employee is, of course, even whether that person is quarantined, and if that employee is giving service, you have an obligation to make their payments, right? So these are the basic obligations from the employer's side in managing employees under quarantine. Yes.
Now we'll see how the generational gap affect the effectiveness of work from home. Studies indicate that the majority of the younger generation prefer to work at office, while the older population prefer to work from home. This might create internal issues in an organization. How can the management handle these type of issues?
Yes, Kavisha. Now, generational issues at workforce has been a hot topic of discussion among practitioners and among researchers even before the COVID. Okay, it is being foreseen as a emerging threat, an emerging societal issue because of these differences among these employees of different generations. And also at the same time, you highlighted that there are some researchers where they say like young workers prefer to go to the office, right? Research are also polarized because there are some other researchers who are telling that because anyway these young new kids, right, Gen Z and millennials, because they are anyway born with machines. If you look at even the way they play, like we used to run around and play, but if you look at your generation, maybe you all would have spent more time working on computer games, right? So therefore, there are some researchers who say that younger workers, they like to stay at home and work from home, whereas the older people, like the mature people who are used to, go to office, work in a particular environment, office environment, that they prefer going out, right? So like I said, researchers are also polarized, opinions are also polarized. But then, like I said earlier, one option would be rather than going for fully remote working, 100% remote working, to have what you call semi-remote working environments, right? Now, this would be possible only at businesses who opt to keep their physical locations intact without changing, because as you know, there are some organizations who have actually closed down their physical offices and they have moved 100% remote working. There are organizations like that in Sri Lanka, right? So that is one option, hybrid working condition. Okay, hybrid working condition rather than going for fully 100% working from home concept. And then the other thing is, I must emphasize that these, like I said earlier, generational differences, it has not only been there in the context of preferences, work preferences in, working options, but also in values, in their attitudes, in their beliefs, their motivational structure and working styles. So these are not something very new that has been alarmed with this pandemic and working from home concepts. Organizations already have had plans in managing these issues. That is not something that has come to organizations as a surprise because of the pandemic, right? So they already should have had their mechanisms, because we've been talking about and also like diversity, workforce diversity, addressing and managing workforce diversity has not been something new. At the same time, even though your workforce is diverse, they all should work together to achieve the common objective, right? So this is where the rules, regulations, the norms, the culture, all those building blocks that I was mentioning earlier, you need to have these building blocks strong. You need to have those building blocks as a strong foundation. Then the employees who would join the organization, they would know, this is how I have to work. And it is up to me to adjust myself, right? So that is where, that's why like we study about these building blocks in organizational behavior and HRM. These things have to be intact.
If you are moving forward with the work from home concept, what are the challenges we'll face as a whole? when we take the whole country into consideration?
Yes, Kavisha. Now, even though this was not something that we had pre-planned, that we have transited into on a gradual basis, we were all pushed to work from home, right? We did not as an option, as the only available option, right? At the same time, working from home has benefits for both employers and employees. If you look at the employee's point of view, of course, the flexibility, right? The flexibility component. And then, of course, you get the time to take care of your dependents, right? So these kinds of advantages are there. And then, of course, if you look at the organization's point of view, of course, when your employees are working from home, there is a huge operational cost that you can bring down. When you bring down your operational costs, your margins increase. And not only that, because of this, working from home, the flexibility option, the option of, ability to take care of the dependents, all of that, the employees will be better motivated. And then that would actually be an incentive to the organization in terms of reduced employee turnover, right? And as you've seen, working from home has become the new normal. As you said, if you look at the best brand report, the global best brand report for the year 2020, which is based on the best brand used in the year 2019. Zoom has entered this list for the first time, right? So that itself shows that the world is in a move towards this what you call new normal, right? But this new normal situation is created as a pandemic. But we need to clearly see whether we can make this new normal sustain even in a post-pandemic era, right? Now, if you look at our country, because your question was basically catered towards our country, right? Like I said earlier, the availability of ICT infrastructure, right? According to the Network Readiness Report of year 2018, right? Only 22% of the people have access, or they possess a machine, either a laptop or a desktop, and this doesn't mean that they have access to internet. This means if we are to make this new normal standardized beyond a pandemic era, we will need to have heavy investments on infrastructure, right? Now, when I talk about infrastructure, it does not mean like, 4G, 5G, whatever the internet facility, but also access to these peripherals, hardware equipments and software at a reasonable cost. Because if you look at the prices of these equipment, they are very pricey. Not every person in Sri Lanka could afford it, right? So that development is essential. Infrastructure development, both in terms of connectivity and also possession of these machines to work from home. And also, if you look at the proportion of the working population who can work from home based on an ICT environment. If you look at, the Labor Department statistics survey, every year there is a survey that is being conducted by the Department of Labor. If you look at our occupations, about 22% of our total workforce are engaged in elementary level occupations. And if you look at the total workforce, according to the same statistic report, only 37% of the working population have can be enabled to working from home with the use of ICT infrastructure, right? So only 37% of our working population. So we need to see whether we can make this work from home concept normalized, standardized beyond a pandemic era, right? We will need to assess all these, occupational categories as well, right? Then number 3, like I said, we need to have some regulations enforced in terms of how this working from home concept should be operationalized. I talked about this in detail in our earlier, like in responding to your earlier question. So these three matters need to be addressed if we are to sustain this work from home concept in a post-pandemic era.
Finally, I would like to ask the major challenges in the human resource management sector that will occur over the course of the next 3 years and their effects, especially taking the current pandemic situation into consideration.
Yes, Kavisha. Now, if you look at the challenges around that revolves around human resource management practices for the next 3 years, of course, there is some hope. There's some good news that there is a vaccine that has been invented, and that there are talks that people can start, take those doses somewhere mid 2021. But then as you correctly pointed out, the effects of this pandemic would remain for a long time, right? Especially, like I said, the anticipated job cuts alone throughout the world is going to exceed 400 million in numbers. So your question is, what kind of changes in the HR practices do I envisage for the next 3 years? Well, as I pointed out, of course, layoffs and retrenchment. This is something that I foresee. It has been happening already, but then, of course, like I said, there are organizations who are still struggling, who are still surviving. And so in these organizations, there would be layoffs and retrenchment both. Now, layoff, that basically refers to temporary unemployment, right? But then retrenchment, that refers to basically complete downsizing, where you permanently take off people. And at the same time, I would see something called furloughed employment, right? This is where people, they are on, like, okay, you have the job, but then you're not paid. Right? They are on the jobs, they have the employment, but because of the difficulties on a temporary basis, the companies are unable to pay. These things are possible because, like I said, business organizations, they do have a strategy, they do have a plan, and HR should work on according to the strategy of the business. So if they are scaling down, like I said earlier, because of a pandemic, if they can't, if they need to scale down their operations, and if they're having problems relating to survival, then of course HR will have to come into play and then manage these situations, right? So retrenchment, layoffs, and furloughed employment, these are something that I envisage. And also at the same time, I also see now traditionally, when you look at evaluation and measurement of employee productivity, traditionally organizations used what do you call time-based scales, okay, in, out, and all those things. But then now there is a shift towards evaluating employee productivity on what do you call using task-oriented methods. This is another thing that I see. And then, of course, if you look at organizations, right, their investments, HR budgets, they will have a new component added to their budget lines called investments on what do you call portable devices, right? Because as you see, not every company has laptops which you can unplug and take home and work from home, right? They have desk computers, right? Desk-based machines. So organizations will obviously think about this, and their budgets will have a new line, investment on portable computer equipment, right? So which would have the hybrid, which would help, hybrid operations. You can work in the office, yes, of course, you can take it back to home, right? And then, of course, if you look at the other things, I also see the necessity for the governing bodies to come up with regulations or at least guidelines of best practices in organizing work from home concept. that has to come from some central point, because it's not their only organizations have opted out to craft their own policies. Then also, I mean, like I highlighted earlier, there has been instances where in one institution, different units, they have started to have different, practices of their own. So if we can have a best practices guideline or something like that coming from a central authority, that would be great. And that of course is necessary. And of course, if you see the current trend of where we are heading towards, and I see that is coming, that would, of course, that has to come, and that would come. And then of course, in terms of recruitment and selection, right? Now earlier, what do you call, the general questions revolved around qualification of the employees. But then looking at where we are heading for, I won't be surprised if, do you have a computer or a laptop and a stable internet connection? If that is going to be an objectionable question, or a question that would come as a surprise. So these questions would obviously come to the interview, guide at selection processes.
I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Ms. Ruhayya Rasid for joining with us today amidst your busy schedule and enlightening us with your wisdom. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Kavisha.
Requesting you to stay tuned until we meet you again with another interesting topic in our next episode. Goodbye and stay safe.